Dr. Jazz.
Anyway, man, thanks so much for taking the time. Like, you know,
I know. It's
like
Sunday morning.
you know, it's like everyone I speak to these days. You know,
Well, I guess it doesn't matter for most people, right? I mean,
and no one has anything, you know, like regarding. Everyone is really happy to do it. To like,
just to do something.
yeah. So, but no, it's so cool because I spoke with so many of the guys, you know, you play with, and I don't know, it will be fun to hear your perspectives as well on everything. So,
Oh man.
oh man, trick questions, you know, it's no, that's not what he
That's
said.
not what happened. That's not what happened.
I have it written down here, man. On
Good.
July, you were there. Like, oh, sorry.
I may not remember half of the stuff anyway.
No, well, we'll guide through some things, but I want to first ask you. I checked on YouTube this last video you guys did with Tony and Billy Mintz.
Oh yeah.
And I love this stuff. And you know, when I spoke to Tony, I think he started doing those, but not like really like recording them and stuff. And I just wanted to ask you to start with, how did this thing happen, and how was it for you actually to play there under the highway and all of that?
Yeah, it happened. Well, it was pretty organic. I mean, I think Malaby had been playing there somewhat with Billy, just kind of like playing duos, you know, during this whole, even before the pandemic, I believe, because it was sort of on the way home from the city for Tony.
Yeah.
Billy would occasionally give him rides back home, and they would drive under this overpass, and it would be.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
So it'd be, this would be cool to hang and play under here. So I think they may have done it a couple times after a gig or something, and then the pandemic came, and you know, I mean, I guess I should add to the fact that I'm spending time between New York and New York and Michigan. I've been teaching.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, at Western Michigan University. So.
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, I've been there. I mean, it hasn't. I've only done 3 semesters, so it just started. So my second semester, you know, in the middle of it, we get this pandemic, right?
Yeah. So
I hadn't really been in New York since, I guess, December, January, because I went back to start the second semester, and then the pandemic hit, COVID, gigs start, everyone's playing, and then you know, at that point I was teaching online, and then my school ended, you know, the semester ended at the end of April, so that was just kind of at the beginning of the whole serious lockdown, right?
Yeah.
So we were in Michigan for a large chunk of that time, my wife and son, and then we came back home to Jersey City, and I'd been in touch with Malaby and just friends, seeing what's happening in New York, and no one's playing, everyone's dying to play. So we decided, you know, I came back around the 4th of July, I want to say, and then talking with Tony, we're like, hey, you know, what about under this turnpike thing? I'm like, yeah, it's anywhere. If we're outdoors, why not? You know, it seemed like the safest at that time. That was the safest solution, right? To play outside.
Yeah.
So we decided to do that, and we just started playing like once a week, you know, with Billy Mintz.
Yeah.
Just trio and improvising and learning Tony's songs or whatever. Just working on stuff just to kind of have an outlet, you know, to play with other people, which we were, you know, missing dearly. So that happened, you know, out of just happenstance, you know, like just had to do something. And then slowly it was like, wow, you know, I think we did like a gig for Patricia Parker, that art Vision Arts for Art, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and which entailed playing in a studio, but actually it was videotaped, so it was like a live studio stream, I guess you'd say. And that was really fun. We got a nice like recording out of that, and then that sort of set up getting people. We knew there's a really good friend of ours that lives out in Jersey, Randy Taylor. I'm not sure I'm saying his last name. He'll kill me. But anyway, he recorded and videoed the stuff, and Kevin also was out there. So we had them set up mics, and then that's how that came about. And then I had to go back to school. I had to go back to Michigan. This was already at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
And our school was teaching in person, so I went back in September to teach. And then Malaby continued like having people come, while the weather was cooperating. He was able to keep that going, inviting various people who would want to come out and do it, just to play. And musicians, it's sort of, if you're not playing, man, you kind of go stir crazy. I mean, it's there's the pandemic shedding, which sort of keeps your muscles moving, but it's totally different from people.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out like that, and we're still doing it. We've been playing in my basement here. Me and Tony and Billy. We have a gig actually on next week, January 12th.
Oh, seriously?
In the city for Tony's birthday, and we're gonna play again. I think it's with Patricia Arts for Arts streaming thing. So that's the 12th of January. So yeah, we've been shedding for that, some different music.
Yeah,
but once a week, just playing.
Are you guys gonna make a record from some of these tapes, or?
I don't know. We may, Tony talked about maybe putting something on Bandcamp.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
About actual physical release, but there's a lot of stuff that could be put out. Then it sounds good.
Bandcamp is a good option, even for like kind of albums. I mean, it's not really an album, but at least for the music to be out, I guess. Yeah,
people can hear it. There's stuff. There's stuff on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But this is just to keep something going.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's fun. We kind of just work stuff out. Actually, it's kind of cool to, we're playing, but we're also like stopping and, well, let's try this. Like, try playing this way, or try doing this, or let's leave space here. Just talking about different concepts. And
that's so cool.
Yeah,
that you could do that. Yeah, but with Malaby, you go really back, right? To William Patterson. Or...
Yeah. I've met Tony in probably 92, 93.
Already, even before you came to New Jersey, to New York.
Well, I came. First time I met him, I just came to. I was coming from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I was transferring to William Patterson in New Jersey, where Tony was actually studying. He was a student there.
Yeah.
So this was 92, 93 when I made the transfer, but I came to the school just to check it out first, just made a trip. And I remember Rufus Reed, famous bass player, was teaching at the time. He was head of the jazz program there at William Patterson. And so he kind of he said, hey, I went into like one of his combos, ensembles, and Rufus was teaching, and Rufus said, oh, this is Johnny, he's a bass player looking to come to William Patterson. He said, Tony, why don't you take him around? And Malaby was playing with the Mingus band.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In the city, and Michael Formanek was playing bass with that band at the time. So Malaby was like, hey, yeah, come, I'm playing at, it was called the Time Cafe, and I'm playing at Time Cafe tonight. Why don't you should come? The great bass player, Mingus music. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I knew Formanek. I'd heard, of him too.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So it was my first kind of New York thing, and I don't know if I went with Tony, but he might have put me on the list or something, and I just went. So I met him then, and then eventually I came back, but he had also split. He went back to Arizona.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we kind of overlapped. I came to Patterson and he had just left. He went back to Arizona. So I was in Patterson for a couple years, and then he moved back to New York. And then we continued to hang and play, just being on the scene and developed a friendship.
musical
You know,
thing.
yeah, you know, there were periods of not playing together. There were, you know, periods of just, hey, checking in, you know, and then
Yeah,
you do that. You kind of go in and out with people, you know,
yeah,
but you never lose that sort of connection.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's always there,
yeah.
which is kind of nice, you know.
But
You don't,
you mentioned now like this New York thing and the Mingus dynasty.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you're from Louisiana, right?
right.
And like, do you remember the first time when you came to New York? When was that? Like,
That was that time. I'd never been.
that was it.
That
And
was it.
what was it like for you? I mean, I know you played with so many people, and I wanted to ask you about studying with Bill Huntington because you
Oh,
know I know him because he played with so many. I have
yeah.
a record of his with Steve Masakowski, you know, the
Oh yeah,
guitarist.
Steve. Yeah. Wow.
I love this guy, you know. And but I wanted to ask you, what was like your first impression of New York when you came there, like musically and culturally?
Uh, the first time I came, like that one trip, I don't really remember actually. I was probably just too much in shock, you know,
Yeah.
um, but I do remember actually physically moving, you know, like making that move, like packing up my station wagon with a friend of mine.
How was that like?
I was insane. And we drove, you know, that's like the drive itself is, I think, maybe 3,000 miles. How many kilometers is that? Like 6,000 kilometers? Is that right? Or is it
Like
50?
4,800, 600. Yeah, but a lot.
Basically like a 28-hour drive. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
it's like from here to Norway, even
yeah,
further. Like,
it's crazy.
yeah,
So we did the drive. I packed it up, the bass, all my shit. I didn't have much. It was mostly clothes and maybe a stereo. You know, I was pretty bohemian at that time. You know, I was what 18, you know, 17,
yeah.
18.
Well,
And my buddy, his family lived in Atlantic City or right outside of Atlantic City. So he was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you. I can see my folks. You can stay with my parents' house for a while you get settled." You know,
yeah.
because I was commuting from Atlantic City to Patterson, New
Oh,
Jersey, where the school was, and that in of itself was about a probably 2.5 hour drive.
wow.
So I would it's
That's
pretty funny story though, because I was crashing with his parents and him. You know, they had a pretty nice house like on the beach, kind of
oh, wow.
down on the Jersey Shore, and I was there I think for about a month, and I think his parents like said, "Well, can you ask him, is he going to ever leave?" You know, they were, and I think what was happening was I was just, you know, I would wake up, we'd have coffee, I'd play music with him. He was a guitar player, I'd play with him, and his mom would make breakfast, I would eat, you know, and for me, I think I was just scared, you know, like, and I would drive to Patterson and look for an
Wow.
apartment. I was so freaked out, you know, like getting on the Garden State Parkway, the whole thing was like, you know, and this is 90, 92, 93, right?
Yeah,
So you know, no cell phones, you know,
yeah,
like
sure.
MapQuest. I don't even know if there was MapQuest. It was probably not even. I didn't even know if I had a computer at that time.
Yeah.
It was just like Atlas, you know, and like driving to these strange little towns near the college, trying to find an apartment.
Oh,
Like
my.
I remember going to laundromats looking for, you know, anyone like posted things on bulletin boards, trying to find like where am I going to live? I didn't know anyone really.
Yeah.
And so that was going on for like a month, and I was freaking out. You know, I was like, "This is the worst mistake of my life." You know, it's really can't. Eventually, I found a pad via someone gave me a number of a student or
Yeah.
a former student who was moving out because he graduated, and I got that number and I called that number, and yeah, I'm moving out. There's a room available. I snapped it up, and I was like, finally. So I finally found it. It was like right before school was starting. So
Yeah.
you know, yeah, and I remember it was all payphones, right? Everything was a
Yeah.
payphone.
Yeah.
Payphone call, you know.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was really stressful. So that in of itself really was like a culture shock, you know, just like being in this enormous cars and buildings and how like everything so close together,
Yeah.
driving for hours, you know. It was pretty insane, but I
And
persevered.
but then you finished like Patterson, what, in 1996,
Right,
5?
something like 95, 96, yeah,
But
90.
you still stayed in Jersey, or you moved then to New York, like to the city, or?
Let's see. I graduated and I went on the road. I put my stuff in storage, And I went on the
Oh,
road with Tommy Dorsey, the big band, like,
really? I didn't know that. Wow, that's so cool, man.
yeah, I did that for like 6 months.
Really?
I was just
Wow.
on the bus. I lived on the bus,
Oh,
so
wow.
we did that touring around the U.S. and it was pretty grueling. But I didn't have, I had zero prospects after
Yeah.
college. So I was like, yeah, let me make some bread and figure out what I'm gonna do. And then we had a gig in like really
Oh,
close to Louisiana, and I decided it was like right around Christmas, and I was like, okay, I handed my notice in. My parents came to the gig, picked me up, got my shit off the bus, and went back to their house, in Louisiana.
oh, wow.
And then from there, I was like, what am I gonna do? So I still had like my car in New Jersey,
Oh, wow.
and my
That was
stuff was
tough,
at a
yeah.
friend's house. Yeah, so I just flew back and found a pad. I think
Wow.
I lived in New Jersey for a minute, um, and then eventually I moved. My first apartment was in Queens, in Astoria, with
Oh, wow.
a friend of mine as well, who went to Patterson. We
Yeah.
decided to stay in New York, so we got a pad in Astoria, Queens. And I was there for a good 8 years, I think.
Wow. And how was it then, like in the beginning for you, like to settling into the scene because you didn't know basically so many players? How
Yeah.
did that start for you? I mean,
Well, I knew some of the cats, who had been in New York for a while, but just from my Louisiana, New Orleans connections, there was a great piano player, Matt Lemler, who's
hmm
now, he's back in New Orleans, but he lived in Brooklyn for years. He went to Manhattan School, and through him, I met Joel Fromm and Matt Wilson,
okay.
and
Wow. Okay.
who played on my recital, and
Yeah.
my senior recital at Patterson. Though, because
Oh,
I started doing sessions with those cats while I was at Patterson, like driving to Brooklyn and then coming back. And then when I moved into the city, I had met some other people, John O'Gallagher,
Oh, yeah.
through I want to say with Matt and Matt Wilson, and who else is
Yeah.
part of that scene? Alan Chase. I don't know if you know Alan Chase.
No.
He
No.
teaches at New England now, but a
Okay.
great alto player,
I have to check it out.
great musician. So yeah, I was kind of meeting some of these cats, like living in Brooklyn, and doing sessions, but I wasn't really gigging, just
Yeah.
jamming. So I took a job at a coffee shop, just making, as a barista.
Yeah.
Before this was like the
Oh,
first, before Starbucks was in Manhattan, it was like one of the first sort of like real coffee
coffee.
shops
Yeah.
where espresso machines and making lattes and cappuccinos. And it was in Midtown, and it was insane because I opened up, and we opened up at 6, so I had to leave my house at like about 4:30 in the morning, and I worked
Oh,
till,
wow, man.
yeah. So a lot of times I would bring my bass at 5 in the morning, 4:30 on the subway, go to the coffee shop, open it up, put the bass in the back, close it, leave my shift at 3, and then go do a session, and then take the train back.
Wow.
So I'd be gone all day.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it. I was young. I mean, I must have been so exhausted, but just,
Funny, right? What you do actually for the will to
oh my
just, yeah. That's amazing, man.
that's how I did that for I think a year or two, just trying, I mean, the rent was not as expensive as it is
Yeah.
now. That's for sure, but back then everything was relative, so
Yeah.
still
But
had to make money.
but do you remember like the first time your first tour when you went over to Europe?
Yeah,
Who was
yeah.
that with?
Oh, yeah, that was funny. That was with Rudy Linka.
Really? With the
Yeah,
guitarist? Yeah, I know Rudy. We're friends. Yeah.
yeah, from Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Rudy,
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah, check it out. Rudy Linka and John Hollenbeck.
Really?
That was my
That was
first.
a trio.
That was the first tour I did of Europe.
That's
It
a
was
burning trio, man. But
it was hilarious.
seriously?
Yeah.
What year was that?
Oh, uh, may have been 98,
Wow.
97, 98, something like that.
That's amazing.
Definitely before 2000. Yeah, we did like, it might have been like 4 weeks. It was long.
Oh, like a real tour. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it was like a real, yeah, all over in a van. I remember driving. Yeah, we were in played. I remember playing in Holland because I was, I was like a tourist, right? So I was like ooh, Amsterdam. I'd like bought a bunch of weed and, like, yeah, I remember Holland. We were staying in some hotel. It might have been Utrecht or somewhere near the water. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Some small, Dutch city, and we were playing a gig, and we're staying in this hotel on the water on the North Sea. And my room was like happened to be like kind of right next to the lobby, and Hollenbeck was like down the hall. And he came out of his room and he said everybody was in the lobby. He said it just reeked of pot, because I was in my room just getting high. And he was like, he knocked on my door. He's like, "Hey, Bear, dude, the whole lobby smells like weed. What are you doing?" And I was like a kid. I was so naive. I'm thinking, isn't it illegal? And he's like, well, yeah, but you can't be smoking like it's coming out of your door.
Shit. That's so cool.
It was really funny, but so it was sort of like never being to Europe, and then all of a sudden I'm like doing some gigs in Europe, and I'm acting like like a little kid, But it was fun. It was cool, There were some good times to be had.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I know Rudy. I spoke to Rudy like also, and with John, with both of them.
Oh,
and
no.
I played with both of them, but we kind of didn't come to this story.
Oh, yeah,
so.
sure. Oh, that's a good. Yeah. You could ask. I mean, I don't know if Rudy would remember these things. I know Hollenbeck would remember them. He remembers that tour. I'm sure he remembers that tour.
Wow,
fighting over Rudy with who got to sleep on the because the van, one was like two buckets or two single seats, and then there was like a one that you could lay down on, and so I would be fighting. No, I'm going in there, and Rudy would be fighting, who would get to take a nap.
That's so cool, man. Wow, that's nice. I didn't know that, seriously. Wow, I mean, I know Rudy played like with everyone. I think when I spoke to him like with the rhythm sections, I was like, man, you played like. But I didn't know he played with you or with Holm. Like I wouldn't put you guys together with Rudy.
I don't remember how that. Well, I met Rudy through Rez Abbasi.
Oh, really?
I was playing with Rez, and
Rez, I know that. Yeah.
Rez shared a rehearsal studio with Rudy on Broadway, and it was like Broadway and 77th Street up there. Oh. He had a rehearsal space in this old like apartment building. It was strange. Yeah. And it was just a studio apartment that's where they rehearsed.
Oh.
So
that's so cool.
I met Rudy that way through Rez, and I think he probably asked Rez, man, I think if something happened, he needed a bass player quick or something So I think Rez gave my number, and I don't know how Hollenbeck got into the picture. Maybe Hollenbeck was playing with Rez too. We might have played with Rez together. It's possible. And then we just sort of fell into that gig.
Quite cool. Amazing, man. It's such a killing rhythm section, actually.
But it's funny, I met Hollenbeck in high school. I went to Eastman Jazz. There was like a high school summer jazz camp when I was in between my junior and senior year of high school. I went to Rochester for 2 weeks, like a summer camp. And Hollenbeck was a student at Eastman.
Wow.
So I met Hollenbeck through one of the teachers at the camp. One of my teachers was also a student at Eastman and was playing with John, and so he would invite me after in the evening hours at night. Hey, let's jam, So they were really cool, They were like, you learn stuff. They weren't being snobs about it. Like, hey, they saw that I wanted to play, even though I don't think I could really play, but they were like, come on, come play. So I played with Hollenbeck and the saxophone player. It was really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, but you mentioned like kind of going now to high school to beginnings. I will catch you here. Like, I just wanted to ask you, like, I mentioned Bill Huntington before, but I want to go even back. Like, do you remember, like, you started with bass guitar, or did you start with the guitar? Or
I started with guitar in high school.
And what got you excited for bass? Actually, I mean, what was?
Well, it was just by default, really, because in the jazz band, I was a freshman and I wanted to play guitar in the jazz band, but they already had a guitar player who was
so it's a typical story.
Yeah, and the bass player was graduating, so you know, and I wasn't that good on guitar either. You know, I just hadn't been playing for very long. And I really hadn't been listening to much jazz, to be honest. I wanted to be like rock and roll, like, you know, guitar player. So, but the band director, who was really hip, like this older, he played trumpet with Woody Herman. He was like a real jazz cat. And Lee Forshey was his name. And he just told me, he said, man, you know, I know you want to play guitar, but everybody has a guitar in their house. No one has a bass. You know, if you want to work, play the bass. You know, that's what he told me. So I said, okay, I'll try it. And we had like an old K at the high school and a Fender Jazz.
Yeah. Oh.
So I just started, you know, taking home the electric and learning to read, you know, big band charts for the ensemble on electric bass. And then I just sort of fell into it, but then I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool, you know. It felt natural. And then the upright was there, and I just kind of picked it up and just kind of started messing around. Like I dug the sound, the feel. Like I felt like I could be expressive on it, even though I was just kind of throwing my fingers around. But so I started taking lessons in high school with someone at LSU in Baton Rouge, like a teacher there. So that's how I got started.
Who were the first guys like on the bass that you started like transcribing? Like, did you like go through all these like old school like Sam Jones and Paul Chambers and all these guys?
Not till way later.
Okay.
Like my first introduction to the bass was listening, like you said, Bill Huntington, like the New Orleans guys, because they played every week. And I grew up in Baton Rouge, so I'm living in Baton Rouge for high school at this time. So we would go every Thursday to this club. It was really an Italian restaurant called Gino's, but they had like a piano bar. Yeah, it was like a mafia hang or something. It was really funny. And yeah, I would go with a couple cats from the high school jazz band. We had like a little crew that we were really like jonesing for the music. We were, had that desire to listen and play. So every Thursday we would go when they were playing, and here the bands were always killing. And usually piano was this guy, Larry Seaberth, who was still playing. And then Bill Huntington would be playing bass a lot of the times. Also James Singleton, who was another amazing New Orleans bass player.
Yeah.
Drums would usually be Johnny Vodakovich.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Or Herlin Riley played.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then Steve Mazakowski would play a lot. And Rick Margitza was living in town at the time.
Really? I didn't know that. Wow.
I heard Benny Wallace play there with Bill.
Wow.
So that was my introduction to the music. Really, was listening to those guys play, and we would go and every night. And then, like a lot of times, like Bill would like invite us to play like the last tune of the set.
Yeah.
Even we didn't know what we were doing, but they would always welcome us.
Open. Yeah.
Yeah. Come play a tune, and we'd play, and yeah, man, sounds good. Yeah. So I was really drawn to Bill in that way, his sound and his ideas, like something about it that was like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah.
So that's when I went to college. I went to Loyola, where he was teaching, and Mazakowski was there, and Vodakovich was there. All these great New Orleans cats were playing, and Michael Player, another great piano player, was there. So eventually I just started working with these guys. I would do gigs and playing in and around New Orleans at that point, and learning tunes and just figuring out how to be a musician. That was my education, I would say. Really was just playing those gigs and listening to them in high school.
But this was like standards. I mean, standards.
Standards. Just playing tunes, and I was trying. I didn't do a whole lot of transcribing. I was really just trying to figure out how to play on the tunes, I guess, in my own way.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do a little bit, but it was really just kind of trial and error. Like, I kind of had an idea of what the sounds were, but I didn't know how to get them out.
Yeah.
Bass, So it was just figuring out a lot, on the bandstand, really,
Well, that's how it should be done, I guess. I mean, that's.
I suppose. I mean, there's you can
Several ways.
several ways to get at that, but I think it helped me to sort of like develop a sound and a voice in a way, like rather than, I mean, emulating the Cats is really important, obviously, but really just trying to develop a personality,
your own thing, yeah.
So that that sort of led
But like this kind of I mean, I know you're playing and I played with you and listened so much to records with you on and your own records, and so this kind of openness, like that I think you're really amazing at, that you can play inside and go outside, and improvisation and composition thing happened then later in New York, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just playing. I wasn't really into like, avant-garde or whatever, or free improvisation. I wasn't doing any of that really up until I got into New York. And much later, really, because William Patterson was just playing tunes and arrangements of shorter tunes or Blakey stuff or what, just playing standards and whatnot.
Yeah.
And all the gigs I was doing, I was playing with singers or piano duos in New York. They actually had those gigs at that time. You could actually work, almost every night if you wanted to, playing in hotels or restaurants with vocalists and guitar players and piano players. So
it's a good way to learn.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and it wasn't until I at some point I was sort of just like I was really lost. I had no vision for myself. I kind of lost that. But I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to sound like, or I thought I knew, and then eventually, I just got tired. I was exhausted because just doing all these gigs, like it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't fulfilling me. I was getting paid, but it was like,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I could do that in anywhere. I could just work in any city. Why am I in New York specifically, though? What am I doing here? So, and then just this kind of brings a whole nother story, but I'll bring up, we lost an amazing piano player a couple of days ago, Frank Kimbrough.
Yeah, he was such a player, man.
Yeah. And he and I were playing somewhat. We were friends, and he knew me, I knew him, and he was really dear friends with Andrew Hill, a great piano player.
Yeah, sure.
And through Ron Horton, who's I could name all these people, but
Ron, he's
all these, great piano player, and was playing with Andrew at the time, and I think Scott Colley was playing bass.
Yeah.
Scott was then started playing with Matheny or Herb.
He was getting quite.
He got some killing gigs, so he started not being able to do some of the Andrew Hill stuff, which he didn't have that much work to begin with, so it was understandable. And then Frank and Ron both said, "Hey, call John." So those guys connected me with Andrew, and then Andrew called me, and like, "Hey, this is Andrew Hill." I'm like, "What?" I didn't believe it. Yeah, can you do this gig in Philly? I'm like, okay, So that's how I got hooked up with Andrew through Frank.
And it was immediately with Eric McPherson?
No, that gig, the first gig was Daphnis Prieto was playing drums.
Oh, really? With Andrew Hill?
Yeah, it was me,
really?
Daphnis, and I think Ron was playing, and maybe Marty Ehrlich was playing, so it might have been a quartet.
It's killing that.
Yeah, and we played some gig. It was like a museum in Philadelphia, I remember, and that was the first. I think we did rehearse once, and then played the hit. Andrew didn't even know. He introduced me as like Fred something. Like he didn't even know my name. It's pretty funny. And then and then from then, he started asking me to do gigs. I was like, hell yeah, and that was the catalyst for me. That was my sort of it sort of crystallized in a sense, like
what you want to do,
what I wanted to do, like, and I didn't know, but he unlocked that for me.
Yeah.
So,
but how was it like? I mean, for you to play, how was he like a band leader? And What were like the major lessons you learned from him, if you can like?
Like less is more.
I mean, yeah.
Especially compositionally, a lot of times I wouldn't have music, or he would give me a sketch, or most of the time there was no charts really. Just kind of following him around and figuring out what's happening, in the moment. But his tunes it's not like they were overly complex, like Wayne tunes or something.
Yeah, for instance, yeah.
Like harmony moving around and odd. No, they were. I mean, some were quite modal and very melodic. So, and the way he played was really. It's not like he was banging stuff out. He let a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Sustain and sort of playing little melodic ideas, which
leave space, almost.
Yeah, leave space, and then I would play a bass note, and then he would play a line, and then I could sort of hear how it related, so I could move my bass note against his line, and it would change the color. So, and it was sort of that moment that I was like, wow, this is so liberating, I'm not having to like just keep time, even though we were playing time, it wasn't like, I have to outline the chords and walk all the, this is like this freedom that was just so welcoming at that moment.
Yeah.
And he was really nurturing in that way, it was always, he was into having the younger bands because he said he wanted that energy, allowed us to play. And he really did. He would, most of the gigs, there would be a moment, okay, we'd be backstage, okay, John, you got it. And I would go out on the stage, and they would be backstage or just sitting on the bandstand.
Oh.
Say, go ahead, John. And I would just play. He'd leave me there for 5-10 minutes just playing. I don't remember, but it was just, and then eventually the band would come in with some song, and we'd all go off from there.
Oh, beautiful.
And Nasheet was really the first drummer. Aside from Daphnis, then it was Nasheet for pretty much the first few years.
Really? Oh.
And it would be, okay, Nasheet, you got it. Nasheet would play, and then we'd come in. Then eventually Nasheet left, and he got Eric on the
game. Yeah.
So that was the last band, was with Eric. And that was also another few years that we played together.
And you played to Europe also, right? A lot.
Yeah, we played a lot in Europe.
Yeah,
it was great. We had some great hangs and great music, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But did you, I mean, because your first record was Byzantine Monkey, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, my own, yeah.
And this was after Andrew passed away, right? Probably.
Remember what year it was? I don't remember.
Yeah, but like.
I think it was before, wasn't it?
Before. But was he like, I want to just ask you that, because was he like a catalyst for you to become a band leader? Or when was that moment when you decided like that you said like, okay, I want to lead a band? Or
that's it. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if he always did talk about doing your own thing and like, just stick to who you are and don't worry about the other stuff. Really, he also knew the business, like what it was about. He was very smart, in that way too. I remember people used to say he was like from Haiti, but he wasn't. He was born in Chicago, but he went along with it because it was exotic, and someone, some interviewer said he was. Oh, so I heard you were born in Haiti. He's like, yep, So it's like.
That's quite cool.
He knew it was like that. It was all smoke and mirrors. Really, the whole thing is really bullshit. But the music is the main thing.
Yeah.
But he understood that. But I don't know if I learned that from him, like to be a band leader. I don't know, because I've only done a few records under my own name anyway. It's not like if I had taken that message to heart, I would be doing way more under my own name.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you start, like, when you started writing, like, your music is kind of, like similar, but the idea, this openness and group. I mean, you still
that was definitely influence for sure.
The compositional, right? Yeah.
Totally. that was a huge influence. Yeah, definitely. Not necessarily to lead my band, but to start the way to write. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to write music that is really, because I've played a lot of that music, and I still do, where people just write a lot, and
Yeah.
I enjoy that too. That's a whole nother set of challenges and skill that, that I've developed. But really, like my thing, that I wanted to play, if I was going to be a band leader, I just wanted the people in the group, I don't want to say my band, but the people that I wanted to play with, allow them to be who they are.
Who they are. Yeah, sure.
And so like Andrew would say, if you rehearse too much, you rehearse the music out of it,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we would rehearse, but it was, sometimes he would forget the music. So we would show up at the rehearsal studio and he'd be like, oh, I forgot the music. Oh, okay, well, we'll see you, sound check. It's like,
so cool.
But yeah, so I took that I guess I took that message either consciously or subconsciously. Like, yeah, if I'm gonna have a group, I want them to be who they are, and not confine them or dictate too much what they do. So a lot of my music has no real chord symbols. It may be just a bass note and melody, and then if there's a comping or a chordal instrument, allow them to figure out the harmony that they want to play.
Yeah, which is quite limited.
And it can change, and that can change every chorus. If it's major the first chorus, it could be minor the second chorus. Whatever. It's I don't want to. That's just the way I want to play.
But when you wrote music, let's say for Byzantine Monkey, right? How did you approach this? Since it was like your first outing as a leader, like, did you know you're gonna have, I don't know, like Malaby and Michael Attias and Adam Kolker, all these guys?
Yeah, we had done some gigs in New York.
Okay.
As a group prior to that recording. Yeah, so we had already been playing. So I kind of had that sound. I knew I didn't want chords. I didn't want piano or guitar or whatever. So I knew it was just going to be horns to some degree against the bass and drums. So I've been playing with Satoshi, and I've been playing with Nasheet. Yeah. So, I didn't know. Like the two drummer thing was interesting to me, but I didn't want necessarily two drum kits. And I love Sato, what he plays. On drums, and just his percussion setup is amazing. So I kind of had that sound. I figured, I don't know if I don't even know if we did a gig together with Sato and Nasheet.
Really? Oh, wow.
We might have rehearsed, but I don't know if we actually were able to get together as a whole group before that recording. But somehow I knew it would kind of gel,
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, okay, I should write some groove kind of music, that has, not just float and rubato everything, but really have like something that can kind of rev up and get those cats going.
But did you write on bass, or how did you write the music? Or in general, I mean, if you compose, how do you?
Yeah, sometimes on bass or guitar or piano. Sometimes I just come up with a bass line and write that, and then figure out, okay, what can
the rest?
Figure out that from the rest, or even just write, meters. Like, write a bars, make a set of bars and certain meters and then fill in the blanks, or write changes, or just a bass line, not necessarily like a grooving bass line, but just like whole notes or just a note, and figure out, this is a cool direction this line can take. So without any color to the bass note, so then the melody would change the color.
Yeah. You still write music? I mean, like,
I haven't been. It's been a little bit slow for me in that respect.
Oh, okay. I mean, because I love your records. I mean, like especially the trio with Benoit and Gerald.
Yeah, thank you,
man. I wanted to ask you about these guys. I mean, since those records are Spiritual Lover. I mean, that's for me.
Yeah.
And the other one also, Flood Stage, right? Yeah.
Flood Stage, yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about, how did you hook up with I mean, with Gerald, it makes sense. I remember when we played with McCaslin and
Yeah, right.
you and Gerald, and you guys.
That might have been
just,
the first time we played. Me and
yeah, but you nailed it. You know, just today I listened to some. I got some bootlegs some guy sent me of this quartet actually.
Wow.
And I didn't hear it, and I was just like, damn, like.
Yeah, remember Donnie? Yeah, Donnie was. That's right.
Yeah, but you guys are like underneath, like whatever we do, it's just like fire, you know, and it gels together. But so kind of Gerald makes sense to me. But how did you meet Benoit? Because I love his records, what he did, like also for Songlines, with Mark Turner, and all these amazing players.
Attias is on some of that.
Yeah.
Phonetics
is amazing, yeah.
Well,
how did you find out about him? So
I don't know how. I mean, I heard that record, and I forget from who mentioned Benoit, but somehow someone told me about him. I don't remember who exactly, but I checked out those records. I was like, wow, and he was kind of writing the way I was also like. It sounded. I didn't know what he was doing. It's way more complex than what I write. But he does write in a similar way that he doesn't really write chord symbols. There's a bass line and a melody, and there's intertwined metric stuff happening. And so it's related, not really on a grid, but there's different levels, you know. So I just really wanted to see what his music looked like, because it was like, wow, this is really interesting stuff, you know. Like, is it all written? Is this all improvised? You know, it was really hard to tell. And I met Benoit. I was playing in Paris. I might have been playing with Fred Hersch in Paris. I'm not sure though. But someone I was playing, I do remember and I met him at the Sunside, you know, that jazz club there.
Sunset.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so he was in the audience and introduced us, and I said, yeah, man, I really love your rap. I mean, I really want to play. I hope we can hook it up. And so we exchanged info, and I think he was coming to New York or Canada or something, like not that much far, you know, further away than we met. And so we kept in touch, and I can't remember if I think it was like, let's do a gig and record. It was like that, you know, we hadn't played together. So I said, Gerald can do this. I think I got us a gig at the Jazz Standard. And I wrote the music and figured out what we're going to do. And Benoit came to town. We did that gig, and then booked Systems 2, and we went there in a day and recorded that album, and that was it, you know.
Yeah.
Somehow I knew, we hadn't really done any playing, which is kind of funny, but somehow I knew it would, like the way he played and, you know, what I was writing and kind of hearing what he was writing, it would gel.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So then I borrowed a clavinet, and used that on the record. I was listening to that Robin Kenyatta record, "Girl from Martinique."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's a German cat playing piano and keys. I forget his name, but it was Harold Anderson. I remember, and the guy was playing clavinet on some things, and I was like, wow, that is such a cool sound.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the Stevie Wonder stuff. It was like they were like blowing, you know. Like, wow. So I gotta have that I want to have that sound on this record.
Yeah.
So I think I borrowed. It was Russ Lossing's. You know Russ?
Yeah, sure.
Piano player. Yeah. So he had a clavinet, like a real clavinet. So I borrowed it for the date.
But you know, I kind of, when I prepared for us to talk, you know, I checked out some of the records I have with you, and I figured out you have something going with pianos. I don't know, but like, you know, okay, we talked about Andrew Hill, Benoit now, and I listened to the last record with Andy Milne.
Yeah, with Milne, yeah.
Which is, you know, you and Clarence are so tight together, and you mentioned Fred Hersch and Ross Lossing.
Yeah, I do have a thing for piano players. Huh?
But I wanted to ask you, like, I spoke with Matt Maneri about this last one you guys did with Lucian.
Yeah.
And it's really, you know, you played with Benoit, who's French, and Lucian is from Romania. And I wanted to ask you, how did you hook up with him? And because that's what is it, UNESCO reimagined, right?
Yeah, UNESCO.
That's such a beautiful record you guys did. And I wanted to ask you, how did this connection happen, and especially that record? I mean, how did you come up with that? And
it's funny. Well, that was all Lucian's.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
and UNESCO being Romanian.
Romanian, yeah.
I mean, you know that. Yeah, how did I meet Lucian? That could be another just being on the scene, you know.
Because that quartet with Abraham and
with
Eric also. That's
Elevation. Yeah, Elevation.
Yeah,
that might have been the first. That might have been the first tour with Lucian. I mean, we did quite a few with that band with Elevation in Romania. I mean, he was able. I mean, you know, there's not there. I mean, he and maybe 2 other jazz musicians in Romania.
Exactly.
So you know, he's able to parlay that into like extensive work experience, which is amazing, you know. So he could bring us over. I don't know if it was every year, but you know, every couple of years we were able to do like 2 or 3 weeks just in Romania. You wouldn't think he'd be able to do a tour of Romania, but he was able to pull that together. You know, Bucharest, and then traveling all around, like
Cluj and all these towns.
Cluj, Timișoara.
Timișoara, yeah. Many places,
yeah, all over. I mean, I've been through Romania quite a few times now. Brasov.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's amazing how he would find these gigs. You know, we'd play schools, you know, universities or whatever concerts, you know, and they would love it. You know, people are starving for this music, and it was so bizarre too. Like for them, I'm sure. What is this music? And we would take it kind of out. So that was the beginning of that relationship, and then the UNESCO thing, because it was UNESCO's like
anniversary.
It was some kind of big, and there was a big festival, right? So Lucian's like, hey, I think either the festival approached him or he came up with this idea. Oh, you know, let's do a jazz or you know, whatever jazz version. Yeah, but let's do something with that. And so he asked me to contribute, you know, arranging some of the tunes. So we split. We picked which ones to do or which movements, etc., and then we divided it up and put that into play. So that's when Matt came in and Alessi.
Alessi, yeah, and all these guys,
yeah, all those guys. So that was the beginning of that experience, and then that led into there was a whole nother. I don't think we recorded though. There's some live stuff of the opera, Oedipus.
Oh, really?
That was another UNESCO opera that he wrote. So we did just recently, before the pandemic, we were in Europe playing this opera.
Really? Wow.
Jen Shyu and Ralph, Tom Rainey.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
South Lucian. Louis Sclavis was playing.
Really? Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
So it was like, you know,
yes.
It was cool. It was cool.
Yeah. No, but you mentioned also Jan. Like, I wanted to ask you about this record, Rambling Confessions. Also, you guys made.
Yeah, Theo Blackman was.
Blackman.
Yeah, we were two singers, right? Jen and Theo. Ralph, Louis Sclavis.
Wow, but it's you guys didn't record that, no? Or
and Matt. No, not like official release.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, that was sort of like before all this, there were some plans in the works to do another tour.
Yeah, would be nice to hear.
And record, but I mean, I was supposed to be on the road with that Dust.
Too. Of course.
Some stuff in the States and in Europe.
And that's such a nice record, man.
Yeah, that's a great record. So
I spoke to Maneri about that, and I just told him, like, man, it's really one of those records. I listened to it. And it's just like it drives you. It's so motionish in a way, like this space, and you guys use, I don't know, so cool what you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll be able to tour next year or later. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's hope so. No, but I wanted to ask you about Rambling Confessions also.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But about like how did you come up with that? And I've read that you were. This kind of the idea came out of Carmen McRae.
Yeah, Carmen. Yeah, we listened to a lot of Carmen.
How did you stumble upon her? I mean, it's like an unusual. I would not connect her with you in a way,
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know because I just love her voice, you know, and I mean, I just started like buying records and listening to these old records of hers
Mm.
that she did. What's the label? Oh man, spacing on the label now. But there was a series of records she did, and
Okay.
like Victor Sproles was playing bass, Stu Martin's on some of that.
Mm.
But just great sounding records, and just hearing her
Yeah.
sing. And then the one where she sings Alfie, you know, that's a famous record she did.
Yeah.
And I was so into that version, so I was like, I want to record Alfie, you know, but I would love to have a singer do it. And then I knew Jen, and I'd done some gigs with her of her own music.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, she would be killing, because I didn't want just like a jazz singer, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really.
Sing it, because it's not going to be any better than Carmen. So I wasn't trying to duplicate what Carmen did. It was more just inspired by. You know?
Mm.
I wasn't trying to make like a jazz vocal record. That
Yeah.
was the intention. Because I know that, and I knew Jen could sing it, of course, and she's
Yeah.
also, you know, just like a horn. You know, it's like I wouldn't have to treat it like a vocal record.
Yeah.
And I knew she would bring her own. Again, it was like someone that you want to play with that brings their own voice to the thing,
Mm.
to the project. So I got her and Andy Milne and Billy Drummond, and
Yeah.
wrote some music and played some standards, and that was like
It's a nice record.
no real rehearsal. We just went in and did that record. You know,
And this is your last record as a band leader,
I think,
right?
yeah, that's Rambling Confessions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to say that's my last one as a lead.
But you love being a band leader? Like if
I do
you
like
compare
it.
this to a sideman or
I do like it. Yeah, I just, you know, I just got busy, and
yeah.
you know, been working with Fred Hersch for a long
Right.
time, and he was really like, before all this, there was just a ton of work.
How
So
did the story with Fred happen, by the way? I mean,
it's another New York, you
th-
know,
this like
yeah, just meet. I think Nasheet was playing with Fred, and Nasheet's
oh
like,
yeah,
call
exactly.
Adrian or something, and I went to his house and we jammed, and then I started doing gigs. It was just, you know,
And it's so cool to hear you, you know, like because it's trios, you know, listening to playing with Andrew Hill and
Yes.
listening to Fred Hersch, and it's like Mars and I don't know Jupiter or something. You know, it's like
yeah,
but-
it's different, but in a lot of ways, it's you know, from Andrew, you know, in any situation that I'm in, I try to still keep that same idea, you know, of like, not really, yeah, you're playing a gig, you're playing the music, you want to be honest to what the music is, so you have to serve the music first and foremost, you know.
Yeah.
But beyond that, then, you know, how do you serve the music and still maintain who you are, you know,
Yeah.
your way.
Makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's what I try to do, and if the situation doesn't allow me to do that, then that's when I, you know, like my spidey sense goes off, like, okay, maybe this isn't the right fit, you know, so let's move on, you know.
Yeah. But not to take too much of your time, John. We just like
This is over an hour, man.
Yeah, man. Like I know, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, shit. That's it.
There's some football games on today.
No, I just wanted to ask you about you've done so many sideman gigs, right? And
too many.
No, they're all incredible records you did. But I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm playing with Ingrid tomorrow.
Really?
Well, we're making a record for Thomas Herber. Do you know Thomas?
Yeah,
the trumpet player.
Trumpet player. Really?
Yeah, his record with Ingrid and him and Michael Serene, drummer.
Oh wow! Yeah, I spoke with Mike as well. It's
oh, you did? Yeah. So
yeah.
So we're gonna record. I mean, that'll be my first studio since all this started. That's kind of funny, right? I haven't been in the studio since January, so it'll be interesting. I don't mean to digress, but
no, but it's cool.
You could tell the listeners, check out Thomas, his music.
Yeah, he's really cool player. Yeah.
And I know you interviewed Ingrid, so you know.
Yeah, and Michael also, and it's so nice to speak to you guys who are behind, kind of.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
always
just
love it.
another sideman, but I don't like that term side.
No, I spoke with
Strength.
Elias about that, and since I always use the term collaborator because
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
because you add, if you come to a record, you add so much of you into it, and
Let's hope that's what you hope, right? That
yeah,
the sound would change with anyone else. It's going to change.
Yeah, definitely. But I wanted to ask you about two collabs, if you still have time to like. One is like with Michael Atkins. You did this amazing record
Atkins. Yeah.
with Rotator with Paul Motion also on it.
Yeah.
And Paul Motion for me is like one of the compositional heroes, especially composition-wise. And I wanted to ask you how it was like for you to play with Paul.
Oh, that was great.
And that experience.
That I wish it would have happened more, to be honest. The thing I sort of remember most was like, wow, you hear him. I've listened to records, of course, saw him live numerous occasions. And the thing I took away from those experiences, wow, this cat is really free. Wow, he's like floating and really listening. Wow, it's so open. Then when I played with him, it wasn't like, it was open, but it wasn't at the same time. Like he was, the bass drum was on all fours. You felt when it was like chang, chang, chang. It's like, wow, how do you, I was really kind of struggling. Like, how do I fit? Do I really just need to walk? How do I play with that? It was almost like I was like taken back in a way, like hearing that and trying to find my zone in there. So I really wish I could. It was great. It was a great experience, man. And I wish I wish there were more opportunities that I could have like really kind of like most people you play with once or twice and then that's it, and it's like, well, wait, I didn't really get a chance to.
But you never played gigs then with him, or
we
stuff
played?
like that?
We might have played like once or twice. That was it.
Yeah.
It was very, very limited time. I mean, Paul was expensive. If you hired him for a gig, it was like $1,000 or something. I don't know.
Sure.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna call Motion to play a gig at Cornelia Street for I don't think so.
No, yeah, sure.
I mean, I would love to, but no.
Yeah, no, sure.
So it would have been great to follow up on that kind of stuff, play with him more and really kind of get into a thing, like I have with other drummers, develop relationships, which is important as a bass player to develop those relationships with people.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. But and another thing I wanted to ask you was like, we spoke about Maneri and Lucian and all these guys, and they did a really amazing record with Evan Parker, which I love. I think it's like the Tears. I forgot the name.
Isn't it Timmy Schwartz's concert or something? It's live, isn't it? Live?
No, it's it's a live concert. Yeah, it's a live concert. But like the name of the record, Sounding Tears. I think it's incredible.
Sounding Tears. You're right. That's
it. And you also did a record with Evan, with John Askerit and Tyshawn. And I wanted to ask you, you're in all these different zones going on, and how was that record? How was playing with Evan?
I mean, that was great.
Yeah,
he's super heavy, man. Evan Parker is amazing. What a musician, But again, it's like it's really cool to play with people that have such a strong voice. Like it's inspiring and makes you, I think, have to find your own voice as well, because if you're just going to go into a situation like that with just deciding, okay, I'm gonna be a bass player in this ensemble, and that's not going to fly, because you're just gonna be buried, you're not going to contribute anything really, So when someone like that is playing and they're so, you feel it, the energy, you sense the years, the experience, the magnitude, and just the knowledge. It really elevates you. You really have to be elevated. I don't see how one could not be. putting yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
I mean, I always felt that with any, like Andrew Hill, same thing. It was like you felt that it was his personality. He
What
wasn't
he's
just,
done.
it wasn't just what he played on the piano, it was how he played. He conducted the band from the piano. He didn't have to tell you what to play. He played, and you went with that. If you were waiting for him to tell you, oh, what should I do, Andrew? I don't know what to. You're already
wrong gig, man.
Yeah, you're already lost.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I think that's, that's probably why he didn't have like charts and because if you just put a bunch of chord changes, you're going to be reading the changes like as a bass player, bar to bar to bar, and he's not playing that way.
Yeah, sure.
One chorus he'll play, A minor for 6 beats, and the next chorus will be 8 beats. But the chart may say 4 beats. But if you're only looking. Yeah, if you're just listening with your eyes, then you're not going to be able to go with that,
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man.
So that's a lesson I got, So I write and
playing with all these guys,
play with all, when you have those opportunities,
definitely.
Hopefully you grow a little bit,
Just one thing, last thing. I'm speaking with Mary Halvorson next week.
Oh shit! Okay.
Like, oh shit!
That's great. Now tell you guys tell her. We played together quite a few times.
Did you? Now I wanted to ask you, like, are there some trick questions I should ask her? Like, no, just kidding.
Yeah, tell her. That you're gonna that she's doozed. Now I forget what the word. My son made up something. I'm gonna dooze you or something. I forget what it was. It's just. But
I just wanted to ask you, how did yours to end with the story? The Dragon's Head record.
Yeah,
this was her first record, and the trio is like. I think it was about the time that we did that tour with Gerald. It was, I think, 2008, 2007.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I remember checking her out because of you also. And I wanted to ask you, how did that group come together, or how was it for you to play with her and her music, because she's so unique as well?
Oh yeah, again, someone else with
really unique.
Yeah,
vision.
her and Chess both.
Yeah, Chess also. Yeah, he's
amazing. Yeah, amazing musicians with a strong identity. It was cool. I mean, I felt like the old man at first. I think I'm a older. Well, no, me and Chess are we were pretty close to the same age, I think. But I just felt like old for some reason, with Mary. I mean, she's at that time, I think she was in her 20s probably.
Yeah.
So, but I think she might have heard me with Andrew Hill or something.
Oh.
I'm not sure exactly. But again, it was like, she called and, I'm writing this music. Yeah, I want to put this trio together. And so we got together and played the music as she was writing it.
Yeah.
And with the intent of recording and doing gigs. We played some gigs at Barbez and various places in the city. She knew Chess they had been playing together for quite a few years before.
You played with Chess also already?
No.
Oh, wow.
Mary and Chess had played with Trevor Dunn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a history already, and then I came into the fold, and yeah, it was great. Yeah, I love playing with those cats. I miss Mary. Yeah, you have to please tell her.
I will. I will. I'll start with that and let's see what happens. Then she will hang up on me,
Yeah, she might. Yeah. Oh, so I just talked to John. She go, oh shit.
That's cool. Because I mentioned her name and he said, "Oh shit," and then she'll do the same. I'm like, "Oh damn."
No, she. Yeah,
it's this cat again. Wow.
Yeah, right. It's John again. Oh boy.
Cool,
yeah, it's funny because I haven't seen all these people in so long. It feels like it's been, years, and I know it hasn't, but and we still talk. Like Mary, still talks about we got to do the trio again, or just because we did a gig not that long ago before the pandemic, and it was
with the trio just.
I think it was just trio. Yeah, for the
wow.
we played now.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, it was just we fell right into the thing, that we had developed. Yeah, we played.
The trio is amazing because you can hear I love those Illusionary Sea and the bigger records are beautiful.
Yeah.
But the trio for me, it's just like it's so much space and sound-wise, you hear many things. It's like more intimate. So I love that. Yeah.
I always like playing with the trio. We did quite a few tours with that.
Yeah.
Too, that was great. Yeah. But things move and
sure,
various ways, and then eventually you come back.
Sure.
It's like a reunion tour when I'm 72 years old, we'll have a Dragon's Head tour. Mary will be 50.
Playing those charts, you'll be
playing the charts.
Like,
I'll have more than glasses. I'll probably I'll be in a wheelchair or something.
Oh my God, Jesus. Cool.
Someone push me out on stage. All right, here's your bass. It's all tuned up for you. There you go. Yeah.
Cool.
Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.